This year is gonna be different. Please, please, I'm begging. I need it so I am on my knees. Please let us win. I have a weird feeling about Arsenal this year. That's not to say I don't have a pessimistic attitude like every Arsenal fan, but I have more hope than I normally would, and I don't like that. I don't like that feeling. Something's wrong. The last 2 seasons have shown me an Arsenal side that I have not seen before since I started watching them back in 2012. Youth, determination, grit, owners that will actually spend money on players. I still haven't forgiven you guys for the 2015 summer transfer window. And I know people will be wondering why I'm highlighting the last 2 seasons for Arsenal when they collapsed in both of them. Trust me, I remember. You do not need to remind me. But that's just the thing. The past 2 years for Arsenal could actually help them out in the long run. And the past 2 decades of banter, rebuilding, frustration, bottling have led us to this season where they actually could win the title again. So why does Arsenal have a chance at winning the league when just 3 seasons ago we were lumped into a relegation battle with Big Sam? We need some quick context and history. Being one of the most successful clubs in England, their last run of dominance came from the late 90s to the early 2000s, battling Manchester United and cultivating some of the best title races in history. They then went invincible, something that no one has done in the Premier League, and thought, yeah, no, that's good. That's good enough. Sure, they've won some FA Cups in the meantime, even becoming the most successful club in the FA Cup, which is actually a pretty good feat, but that should not be good enough for Arsenal. So winning the Premier League title for the first time in 20 years, and potentially having it be the first one at the Emirates, would be an extremely big deal, and one of the reasons why they'll be a little extra motivated this season. And I know people are going to be quick to bring up the past 2 seasons at Arsenal when they bottled top 4 and the title respectively, but funny enough, that could just help them out this season. The pain of missing out when you have your goal within sight is etched into this young squad's mind, and they will be hungry to right the wrongs of the past. We saw how missing out on the top 4 affected both Arteta and the Arsenal squad the following season. The players responded with late dramatic comebacks and getting results that they normally wouldn't have gotten in previous years. For example, last season, Arsenal got the 2nd most amount of points from losing positions, while only being in those losing positions the 2nd least amount of times. If we were to compare that to last season, we'd find Arsenal would be dead last in getting points, win and losing positions, the only win being against Wolves in that dramatic late winner. If missing out on the top 4 can change your mentality so well that you go from getting the least amount of points from losing positions to getting nearly the most amount of points from losing positions, imagine your mentality if you bottle the league title. Now, of course, some things are going to be out of their control, sure, but they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that they get the results they need. Unless Saliba gets hurt again. Fortunately for Arsenal, they actually thought ahead this time and brought some quality depth in with Jurrien Timber, a versatile defender who can play across the back line with an amazing ability to progress the ball at his feet. He can invert like Zinchenko, he's as versatile as Tomiyasu across the back line, and he can go up and down the pitch just like Ben White. He's quite literally a better version of all 3 of those players combined. And if you don't think he's that good, watch his game in the Community Shield against Manchester City. Admittedly, this game isn't as intense as an actual Premier League game, but when City field a nearly full starting 11, a good performance, namely a man of the match performance, is worth talking about, especially when it's a debut for a new club. You know, I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but I said Timber would be as important as Rice about a month ago, so you should get me on those talk shows. I know more than them, which doesn't seem that hard now that I think about it.
They finish 8th. This is their modal position.
Speaking of Rice Baby, he adds another piece to the versatile puzzle that Arsenal seemed to be missing last year. He can play in that box-to-box role like Xhaka, and is even an upgrade on him as well, but he can also do a great job as the lone defensive mid. His composure on the ball and his dedication to run people down to get the ball back is going to be key to Arsenal's success, and there's no doubt he's going to be a leader in the team as well. As for Kai Havertz, look, we all know what he's good at and what he's bad at, alright? He'll put himself into a great position and then fluff like 8 of the 10 chances he's gonna get. If he can regain any of his form that he had at Leverkusen, it's gonna be a great deal, and while I'm not as confident in him compared to the other 2 signings we made, he is great versatility, he has great depth, and he also has Champions League experience, something that most of the squad doesn't have. Oh, and we signed Raya on loan. That's just fantastic too. That's a really good signing. Not everything is going to be in Arsenal's control, however, especially that giant elephant in the room that some people have a massive appreciation for. Seriously, why does West Ham just love City all of a sudden? Where the hell did that come from? So what about Manchester City and their dumb, stupid, tall, genetic, freakish Norwegian robot?
Too many adjectives.
Manchester City just came off a treble, one that was riddled with over 100 FFP charges that none of them will stick, but, you know, a treble nonetheless. It's reasonable to think that City will have a hangover this season, and with the Premier League itself gaining so much talent, so much so that Aston Villa can win the Conference League, we have to understand that there is not going to be a single easy game this year. We've also seen multiple departures from their squad that involve key players with not as many incomings as you'd like if you were a City fan. You have an aging KDB who can't seem to stay healthy, and while Haaland himself did stay healthy for the majority of last season, he also has a slight injury record that's not that great. I understand that it's wishful thinking to expect City to fall off even just a little bit, but if there was a season for it to happen, this is it. As for the other two clubs that have a chance at winning the Premier League, Manchester United...
I don't think so, pal.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. They're not going to win the title. They have a lot of moving pieces. They brought in a great striker, but is still maybe just a little bit raw and young. They'll expect top 4 for sure, but a title race is probably out of the question. On the other hand, Liverpool have an outside shot at winning the Premier League this year. Their starting 11 is virtually good enough to hang with almost anyone in the world, and the only reason they didn't get top 4 last year was because of another injury crisis. It seems like they're alternating years with those injuries, so like next year they should be fine. But just a quick question, can we take a look at their midfield depth real quick? I mean, genuinely, a single medium-term injury for them, and they're going to be having to play a 17-year-old for about a month. While my friend thinks they're going to be fine, hard to argue with this logic. I don't think their depth is good enough to be able to last a full Premier League season. Out of the 4 squads I mentioned, Arsenal have the depth, the quality, and the hunger to win the title. Their only problem is going to be the Champions League, so basically it's them versus themselves. Hopefully they can stay healthy. Now, as a quick disclaimer, while I do think Arsenal will win the Premier League title, I also think it's going to be very close between them, Liverpool, and City. And like I mentioned before, the entire league is getting a hell of a lot stronger as well. Unless we see some of these top teams getting bombarded with injuries again, it's not going to be a 14-point gap between first and third like we saw last year. If anything, the title race is going to be very close, potentially being decided by 1 or 2 games and only a handful of points. So that's it. My prediction's locked in, and I'm sure this won't come back to haunt me, and Arsenal are definitely going to beat Nottingham Forest on Saturday, right? Right? Don't you dare. So who do you guys think will win? Be sure to follow my Twitter in the description down below and tell me on there. Tell me your predictions. Who's getting relegated? Who's getting top 4? And who's going to be winning the Premier League title? If you want to see anything else, be sure to let me know down below. But like I said, that is going to do it. And we'll see you guys later. Peace.